Now, voting has ended in Thailand's general elections, with just a handful of protests disrupting the ballot. But there's no sign of an end to the bitter political conflict that's led to violent clashes on the streets. The results won't be announced for weeks, leaving the country in limbo. On the streets, the anti-government protesters are planning their next move. Their leader told our Asia correspondent John Sparks that for the first time in the country's history, people have actually refused to vote.
As the sun rose on election day, the people of Thailand made their way to the polls, or at least some did, like the country's embattled Prime Minister, Yingluck Shinawatra. There were a few friendly faces in the crowd, and she seemed grateful after 3 months of increasingly bitter street protests. Her opponents accuse her of corruption, and they threatened to disrupt the poll.
The city is on a knife edge. Nobody really knows what's going to happen today, but the Prime Minister at least will cast her vote. Here she is, dropping it into the ballot box now. She seems calm and relaxed, which is pretty remarkable when you consider the political crisis which has enveloped her. Prime Minister, is this election going to solve anything in Thailand's political crisis?
Sorry, I think we are this morning because
It's a difficult question to answer because the election may not stand. Anti-government protesters have been trying to sabotage it. And in a Bangkok suburb called Din Dang, we found them doing just that. A group of protesters had surrounded a government building where ballot boxes and ballot papers were being stored. Election officials couldn't get them out.
Are people in this part of Bangkok going to get a chance to vote? They will.
I'm not sure.
You're not sure?
Yeah.
In fact, hundreds of thousands of people lost the chance to vote today.
What you're doing is not democratic, is it?
Yes, that's true, but we want to have reform before we have an election.
Some residents in Din Dang were furious. They wanted to vote, and they decided to confront the protesters. Tempers flared, and a shot was fired.
Inevitably, perhaps, some of the people who weren't able to cast their votes came down here where the anti-government protesters are manning a barricade, and they challenged them. And not surprisingly, it got tense very quickly. Bottles were thrown, rocks were thrown.
It was left to a solitary policeman to sort things out. Relax, relax, he said, but it didn't work. A few hours later, residents broke into an election office demanding the chance to vote. Officials said sorry, it was too late, to the total disgust of some.
I'm Thai, and I want to use my rights, my freedoms. I mean, who are these people? If the government won't do anything, we will move against them.
The centre of Bangkok was occupied by those who had no intention of voting today. A happy and affluent-looking bunch, all determined to bring the Prime Minister down. And in an exclusive interview, their leader told me they were close to victory.
This is the first time in Thai history that people have refused to vote, and government civil servants won't work for them until the country is reformed.
You say the majority of people in Thailand support you, so why haven't you participated in the election and let people vote on your reform proposals?
The people know that these elections are just the same old thing, same rules, same organisation, the police, the ruling party. It won't be a fair election.
The game plan is simple. Put so much pressure on the Prime Minister that she's forced to resign. But it's a dangerous game. Behind the smiles, the uncertainty grows as both sides appear to be digging in. John Sparks, Channel 4 News, Bangkok.